Welcome to Magnificent Living Today. Are you living a life of optimal health? Do you want to make changes in your life? Do you need help setting and achieving goals? Are you ready to reform and reshape your mind, body, and spirit? Are you looking for more balance in your life? Many of us are thinking about starting a better lifestyle program, both for ourselves and or our family. We all know how difficult it can be to motivate others when we ourselves are not motivated. Sometimes we all need a little help reaching our goals, and that's why Magnificent Living Today is here for you.
Welcome to Magnificent Living Today. Welcome back. Today, Jennifer and I are here to talk about faith, hope, love, truth, and what is your truth. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
One isn't necessarily born with courage, but one is born with potential. Without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue with consistency. We can't be true, merciful, generous, or honest. Maya Angelou.
Welcome back to Magnificent Living. And again, we're going to start with a section I like to call Mr. Motivator. And Mr. Motivator today is about truth and honesty. And often in life, is the hardest person to be truthful with is yourself. But that's where truth has to begin. When you begin with truth within yourself, it changes the way you approach other people. I always say that if I tell the truth, I don't have to worry about what story to tell which person. And I never really understood people who told those kind of fantastic lies, because eventually, Buddha said there are three things that always eventually show up: the moon, the sun, and the truth. So I believe that as we live our lives and we go through and live it in truth, it actually alleviates us from a whole lot of other nonsense in our lives. People hold on to the nonsense. I grew up in a beautiful big house. I'd much rather say I grew up really poor and look where I was able to go and what I was able to achieve, opposed to pretending that I was somebody else. I'm going to talk to Jennifer. How are you today, Jennifer?
Wonderful, Carl.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Another week we're here.
Yeah. I love what you just said, Carl, because when you're truthful, that means that you're always telling, like you said, the same story to every person. Mm-hmm. When you're lying, you have to have a good memory. And I know that, you know what, I don't have the best memory to be keeping up with all the different stories that I'm telling. So I make it a point to be truthful.
Yeah. And I find that eventually with the people who don't tell the truth, or even people who tell what they call the little white lies, eventually they catch up with you. Because when I find out that you've told me an untruth in a very small matter, then I'm really concerned about what are you going to tell me, or what are you going to do, or how are you going to act when it comes to a larger matter in life.
Oh, sure. It starts with the smaller things. And if I can't trust you in the little things, how am I going to be able to trust you in the big things? So, like you said, what is your truth? And, you know, to dig even deeper, why do you feel that you need to make up the story? What is that about? What's really behind there? I often ask.
I brought one of my poems today.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's one of my favorite ones because it reminds me of life, just life in general, and it's called Fairy Tales. Okay. Who created fairy tales? The tales our memories keep, the tales that we are told before we go to sleep. Stories of beautiful princesses, skin so white, eyes so blue. Tell me then why these princesses never looked like me or you. Tales of a prince who comes along with his kiss, the beauty to wake. But when the prince doesn't show up, it leads poor beauty's heart to break. That knight in white shining armor, who saves a damsel in distress, know that if you wait for the armored savior, you'll never escape the mess. Magic fairies who come along, with the answer to save the day. If only we were told to be saved, just get on your knees and pray. There is no handsome prince, and no real fairies that I've known, and the only nights that I really know are the nights I've spent alone. Be honest with your children. It's not fair to fool our youth. Tell them fairy tales are only lies, then fill their dreams with truth.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. What I take away from that is you need to accept personal responsibility for yourself. You can't wait for the Prince Charming's not sweeping in there to save the day. There's no fairy godmother. You know, you have to take responsibility for your life. What do you want? You know, what's around you, and really take those small steps to start moving forward in that direction.
And I think you have to first start with the moment of truth. And the moment of truth is the time when you sit down with yourself and say, this is what my honest truth is. And like we talked about last week, not who I'm supposed to be, not who I think people think I ought to be, just authentically, what is my truth? And that starts with very basic little things like, do I love myself? Can I honestly look at myself in the mirror every day and say, I'm honestly doing a very good thing? I'll tell you a funny story about me learning how to tell the truth at a very young age. Back in the 70s, it was disco time, and when you went to the discotheque on Saturday night, you never wore the same outfit that you wore the week before or the week before. So people always were constantly coming up with new outfits. And I started hanging out with a group of people, and they used to go to the store and they would steal clothes every Saturday. And I was scared to death to steal. And every week I'd go to the discotheque and they'd have the perfect outfit on, and I'd be like, darn. And one Saturday I decided I was going to go with them, and I was going to get myself a new outfit also.
A 5-finger discount.
Exactly. Yeah. I was probably 15 or something like that. Never had stolen anything in my life. So I go into the store and they show me what to do. I do it. I walk out of the dressing room, walk halfway through the store. A guy approaches me and takes me right upstairs. And he's like, okay, you're caught. And from that moment on, I just taught me it would take the same amount of effort to do something dishonest as it would be to do something honest. So I went and I got a job at a little fast food restaurant, and I made my little bit of money, and I went out, and I may not have had the fanciest outfit, but what I wore, I really appreciated because I worked for it.
Exactly. You felt proud of what you were wearing.
Yeah.
You know, you got it with an honest day's work, and so you didn't feel the need that you had to take. And that's a important lesson to learn. I think growing up, what I most remember about, you know, lying and being honest, all my mother had to do to keep me in line was just give me the look. That's all it took. And so one of the things that she always said is never ever lie to me. That's one thing you don't ever do. You know, don't tell stories, don't make up lies, you know, don't lie to me. And so that's just always been ingrained in my head, you know, probably from the age of 5. And so, you know, growing up, I tried to live on that path. And, you know, I'm not saying that I didn't stray every now and then, but, you know, I just always remember that because that's something that has been ingrained in my head from such a young age.
Yeah, what's been ingrained in me from the very time that I was born is my family believes it's always better to hide things. So hide the truth and make, smooth everything over and make everything look sunny from the outside. And, you know, as a kid, you don't really get it. You grow up and you believe all of those things that you were told were the truth. Well, what's most interesting to me now in my life is I am revisiting my life. For 20 years solid, I traveled the world, and I spent very little time with my family. And when I did spend time with them, it was Christmas. I came, the gifts were shared, you know, the party was happening, but it wasn't all about the truth or what really happened when you grew up or any of that stuff. And 8 years ago, I moved from Maui to Laurel. Not my best decision.
Hey!
No, great. No, really, it was a great decision because what I didn't realize, I came here to learn something. And when I left, and all of the memories that I had of my family and all of the things from my youth were old memories. So they were old thoughts, old things that I had in my head, old things that I was holding on to. And the 20 years that I was away gave me perspective. You know, I got to go out and see how other people live and see how other people treat their families and how other people treat their lives. And in other countries, and people are so different than we are. And as I got back home, I realized that this was my period in my life to find out what my family is or who they are today. And as I started to visit my aunts, I realized that every time we'd sit down, I'd make a couple apple martinis and I'd get them loosened up a little bit. And I'd find out amazing things about my childhood that I never knew.
Wow.
So there were so many things that were told to me as I grew up And I guess it was in an effort to keep me level and balanced and not to scare you because you were a child, or maybe you were a child and you weren't old enough to handle that kind of information. And it may be the truth. But as an adult, I really appreciate the new memories that I've been able to develop with my families, and then going back with my aunts and just going over who my family was. On Mother's Day, my aunts and my brother and I went to the cemetery. And we walked through the cemetery and we walked past all of my relatives. And there were some that I knew, some that I didn't know, and there were just some really amazing facts in there. Like my Aunt Maud. She died in 1973, which meant I would have been 13 years old.
Okay.
But of all the people in my life, she had the most influence on me in that little short period of time.
How so?
That she taught me always to be honest, always to be on time, always to be true to your word. If I say I'm going to do something on Thursday, I do it on Thursday. I don't do it on Friday. I don't do it on Saturday. I don't do it the day before. I do it when I say I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And she came from the school of hard knocks, so she didn't really mess around at all. Boy, like you said, just one look, and I knew it's like I'm doing that and I'm doing it right now. But the lessons that you learn and the values that you're able to encompass, even as a child, they echo through the remainder of your life. I've always wanted to be the person to tell the truth, because I know that there are so many people out there who don't even know how to tell the truth.
Yeah.
They don't know what their truth is. And finding your truth, that's a lot of soul searching, because your truth just isn't self-evident. It's just not.
No.
And you can look at yourself in the mirror, you can have honest conversation with yourself, but somewhere along the line, you're going to tell yourself a story that's not true. It's just the way we're built. And I just always think that it's important to constantly examine what my truth is today, because my truth today may not be the same truth that was from the day before.
Yeah.
And I just told you earlier, I kind of had a problem last week, and I worked it out. And the way that I worked it out was I realized that this problem was no longer something I could control. I had done everything that I could do. I'd worked as hard as I could. I told the truth. I had given from my heart earnestly and honestly, and a roadblock came. And I said, okay, God, I don't know what I'm going to do from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in your hands. And Tuesday, when I came in, it was still sitting in his hands, and I still didn't have the answer. Yeah. And Wednesday morning, I got up and I taught my 3 classes and my 2 clients, and you're involved in this, so I'll let you know. And I came here and I worked, and I was as tired as I could be. I mean, I literally laid on my bed and passed out. And my truth was, I can't move. And then I got a text from you, and it said, my car broke down, Carl, so you have to go and you need to go teach the class.
Yeah.
And I thought, all of a sudden, God said, here it is. Here's the answer. And the answer is I didn't need to extend myself that much. That I had extended myself and
to the point of exhaustion.
To exhaustion. And I had to realize what was the truth. The truth was I wanted to do the television show. And when the roadblock came up, there were some things that were most important to me. So the most important truth is that the reason I wake up every morning is to service the people from my heart that I work with, my clients. And a lot of my clients have been with me 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I honestly live to wake up and see their smiling faces and, how's your husband, how's your kids, maybe a little bit of gossip, maybe we might go out to breakfast after class, but I look forward to those moments and servicing those people.
Yeah.
I've also been able to, in my business, create a family of people. And I said, God, the only thing I don't want to do is I don't want to break up my family.
Yeah.
So if I have to make some choices or some changes in the way that I service my family, then that's going to be okay, as long as I can keep them together, because that is the most important thing to me at this moment. And then I also realized that even when you have a dream, I said this last week, God has a bigger dream. But in order to get to that bigger dream, you have to surrender this little dream sometimes. And it doesn't mean you have to give it up. It means you just have to let it go and let it become what it is, instead of making it what you think it should be.
Right.
Because the truth is, it's going to be what it is. And to be honest with myself is to say, I have very little control over some things that happen. There are things that happen I have control over. When I realize that I don't have control, many people would much rather hold on to something and say, I have control of this, I have this, even though they know that they don't. For me, it's much easier for me to say, Jennifer, I don't have this for you today, and be honest with you. And that way, I'm free and you're free, because you're not sitting around waiting for me to give you something that I don't have to give.
Right.
And I don't feel stressed out that, oh, I promised this to Jennifer and now I don't have it.
Right.
And I feel as we develop and evolve that we learn how to, or we should learn how to start with that self-honesty and even be honest with people who you know are dishonest. Because honesty can't help but rub off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I had a friend who always had fantastic stories, and I was in a room of people, and everyone was listening to his fantastic stories, and everyone was just acting like they were just the truth. And
so you knew differently?
I knew differently. And in the beginning, I thought, you know, I'm just going to let this go on, and then I decided, no, I'm going to break this down. And so I asked a question, and he went backwards. But the answer that he gave was completely different than the story that he had told from the beginning of the evening.
Okay.
And I just wanted everyone in the room to acknowledge that, you know, this is it wasn't even a bold-faced lie. It was those little white lies floating around the room. And they were just a very uncomfortable thing, you know, those little, and I always wondered, what's a black lie? You know, what's the difference between a white lie and a black lie? I think a black lie, yeah. I mean, but when all those little lies are floating around the room, it takes away the whole honest factor of the event or whatever is happening right there. And I prefer to be in an environment where I feel as though I'm growing because you're coming from an honest place, I'm coming from an honest place, and then together we can move up. But as long as you're telling a little story or you're hiding something over on the side, we're always going to be hiding things from each other, and we're never really going to know each other.
Right. There's so many secrets floating around. You don't know what really is the truth. And, you know, I certainly say when you look in the mirror, you want to pull the covers back, pull everything back and look at yourself, warts and all. And it's okay if you're not where you think you should be. You know, should is a judgment. You know, I should be here at this time in my life. I should be doing this. Oh, I should have gotten it together by now. It's okay if you don't. So really looking at where you are now and being just truthful with yourself, because once you speak your truth, it's like you give everyone else the freedom to speak their truth too. Right. You're not hiding behind the mask anymore. Yeah. You open up the avenue for honesty. Yes. Yeah. And then there's the painful truth. In one of my favorite songs, CeeLo, he says, I'm sorry if the truth was inconvenient. And so often the truth is inconvenient. It's something that you'd rather not say. And sometimes, especially with the people I love, I have a hard time sometimes bursting their bubble when I know what the truth is, and they're trying to pretend like that's not the truth. And I find that in order for me to sit there and listen to you lie to yourself, it doesn't enhance you or me. And if I'm your friend, or if I really love or care about you, the best thing that I can do, the most earnest thing that I could do, is just to come out and say, no, you know that's not the truth, let's get honest here. And then you have the choice. You either get very angry with me, and then that's what the truth is. The truth is that you're not ready to deal with the truth. And okay, then I back off. I'm not going to force it down your throat. And isn't that the case a lot of times? A lot of times, you know, some people are just not ready to face the truth, because the truth is so much, for them, scarier than the stories that they've been telling themselves over and over again. Well, yeah, because, you know, fiction is perfect. You know, the truth is imperfect. Yeah. And so you can lie to yourself all you want. You can make up stories. You can have all the stories in the whole world. And what I loved about traveling, I always said that it always gave me a chance to recreate myself. And not become somebody else. But if my truth changed and I was in Brazil, I could change my truth, and when I came back from Brazil, hold on to that truth. But often I find that when you're with that same group of people, they don't want you to grow into your truth because they're not growing into theirs. And so often when you explain your truth, they're like, oh, come on, I know you better than that. And
Those are the dream busters, you know, the ones that always want to tell you what your truth is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there are the people that are going to tell you what your truth is when you know. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm like, no, that's not the truth. I had someone recently in an argument say, well, you know, you don't care about anyone but yourself. And I just really had to pause for a minute, and I stopped and I said, okay, go backwards. And let's discuss the last 6 months of what I've done for you and what you've done for me. Not that I'm counting numbers, but all of the things I did for you were earnest and honest, and I did them because I wanted to. When you sit back and you recounted everything that you said you did for me, it was with bitterness and it was angry and resentment. If you're not giving and loving with an open hand, with an honest, open, I'm giving because I want to from my heart, then don't give it to me. If it's not a truthful gift, then I really don't want it. And so I think that the gift that we can give ourselves is truth. You know, to get past the painful truth. To get to your moment of truth, and then to live in your truth no matter what anyone else says to you.
To live from that point, you know, to live from that place in your life where you're just, you know, honest with yourself, like you said, and it doesn't matter whether anyone likes it or not, you're being who you are, your most authentic, genuine self.
And it's easy to hide behind things. Between the ages of maybe 30 to 35, I lived behind hair. And I had long hair, short hair, blonde hair, blue hair.
I'm still waiting to see the pictures.
A pink mohawk. You know, you name it, I went through this whole thing. And it was what I call it now is armor. Because as long as I had on my armor, it kept people away from me. And if people stayed away from me, I didn't have to discuss my truth. The truth is that I was not the tough guy that I wanted to portray. So I wore this tough guy image, kind of, you know, out there, bizarre, because it kept people away from me. And as long as people, if they didn't like me for the image that I had created, it's all right, because that wasn't me. So it was also a way of protecting myself.
Because it allowed you not to let people in.
Exactly.
You know, you had that guard up.
But you can't live like that forever. I say, you know, that time is what I needed to find my truth. And if I sat around and listened to everyone else, you know, Carl, you're so wonderful, you're so great, you're this, you're that, I could sit around and be really full of myself. But the truth is, I want to grow. And in order to grow, I have to accept what's good about me and what's bad about me. And if I'm around a group of people that never say, this is what's bad about you, then you're not really being my friend. You're not really helping.
And you don't know how, you know, what you can do to improve yourself. I mean, like you said, we're always evolving and we're always changing. So if you just are hearing all the good things, you don't know, okay, what do I need to work on? You know, how can I get better? Because it's like we're always trying to, I feel, be better than before, be our best selves at every moment. So we're trying to always improve that. And so having that constructive feedback is always helpful.
It's helpful, you know, I always say, don't listen to the news, don't listen to it too hard, because people are up and down. They're here, they're there. They're on your side one day, and the next day you're the worst person on earth. And all of that is, to me, that's just noise. The real truth is what's living inside of you. So when you can turn off the noise and say, I realize all these exterior things are happening, and this is how this person feels about me, and this is how this person views me, and I want to appease and please those people, but I'm not going to do it by not being myself. You know, when they come to me and they say, well, I see you this way, and I know that's not the truth, I'm not going to hesitate, I'm not going to pause, I'm going to say, no, this is who I am.
And that's what I think it boils down to, Carl. It's knowing who you are, knowing your values, you know, knowing the type of person you are, the type of friend, the type of, you know, son, brother, what have you, who you are, so that when someone approaches you and says you're this way, you know yourself, you know your values, you know what's important to you. You can say, no, that's not me. This is who I am. But I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to do that reflection, to have that greater awareness of who they really are. And so when someone approaches them and tells them that they're one way, they automatically believe it. So you got to get to the point where you know who you are. Even if, you know, and we're not even talking about perfection here. It's about being the person that you want who you are and who you want to be.
Right.
Even if you're not, quite there yet, like I said, you're making the steps to move in that direction.
Yeah. And it's about, like we talk about all the time, finding the path. Because when you're on your path and you say, okay, this is what my skill set is, this is what my truth is, this is where I want to go, so this is what I need to learn, and this is what I need to envelop in order to get to this point. So that you're already started on your path, and it's an honest, truthful path, then you'll truly, honestly get there.
Oh, yeah.
If you have to live through deceit, what happens is you attract deceit to yourself. So you're deceitful with other people, they decide to be deceitful with you, and you're living in this world where there's all this deceit and no truth.
And you're wondering, why is this happening? Why, am I being fed all these lies? And again, like you said, you're attracting that because what are you putting out there yourself?
Yeah. Well, I believe that telling the truth and shaming the devil is the way to live. And sometimes, like I said, it's the painful truth. Sometimes you have to say things to people that they're just not going to like. But I hopefully say the things that I mean and mean what I said. And if I hurt someone's feeling in the meantime, I trust that my friends won't walk away and say, you just hurt my feelings and I don't want to talk to you anymore. That they would at least take the time to realize that that only came from love.
Right.
Because if I don't care, then I don't care. Then I'm not gonna. If I walk down the street and I hear someone tell a lie, I don't know you. I don't care. But if I care about you and I care about you becoming the best you, of you having that most authentic life, then I'm going to be honest with you because my goal is to live my most authentic life. And I hope that my travelers, the people who travel my life with me, they're the group of people that are truthful and hopeful and faithful and live their own truth. Because while you're living your own truth, you teach me. I learn from your truth. I don't learn from your lies.
Exactly, and I think that's so important that you said that we all learn from each other's truth, because I feel like it's not about going around and seeing, it's not about going around and judging others and, telling them that, that they're wrong and so on and so forth. It's about looking within you and knowing that you are living your truth. You're being genuine and authentic with others. You are being truthful with others. And I feel that sometimes we're the only example of that people see. And so when people see you doing that, like I said, it gives them the freedom to do that, and it rubs off on others. And it starts this domino effect that, you know what, I don't have to lie. I can be me and be accepted for who I am and be loved for who I am. And even if I say something to a friend that they don't like you said, it would be my hope that they would understand that I'm coming from a place of love. I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I love you enough to tell you the truth.
Okay, I'm going to end right there just for a moment. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the truth.
Yep.
Don't go anywhere.
Tricks and treachery are the practice of fools. They don't have brains enough to be honest. Benjamin Franklin.
Welcome back to Magnificent Living Today. I'm here with Jennifer, and again, we're going to be talking about love, truth, and finding your truth and not limiting yourself when it comes to your truth.
Yes, Carl. So this is really huge. I'm going to talk about a term called limiting beliefs. And basically what a limiting belief is any belief that we have about ourselves that holds us back from a dream that we have or a goal that we want to accomplish. It's called a limiting belief. It's that ceiling that we put over ourselves, that we can't rise any higher than that. And so what our limiting beliefs do is they keep us in this box. We can't go any further than this, space that surrounds us. And the thing about limiting beliefs, Carl, is that it keeps us safe. Because it makes sure that, we can't take that risk. We can't make a mistake because we're not moving forward. And so, limiting beliefs come from all different places. And so some examples are, like, I can't, have the job that I want. A lot of people are in a situation where they may be unemployed. They're not, they're no longer in the job that they had. And so they're out there, they're looking for a job. And it's like, okay, the things that I'm faced with, I can't find a job that I love anymore, or I can't find the job that is going to be a perfect fit for me. That's a limiting belief. Or, I just can't lose this weight. I've been overweight for most of my life, so that means this is where I'm supposed to be. That's another limiting belief. Or, talking about love, I can't have a harmonious relationship with my family. We fought for years and years. This is just the way it always has been. That's a limiting belief. Or even if in your love life, my husband and I, we just can't make it work, or I can never find the right guy or the right woman. All of those are limiting beliefs. And so a lot of times our limiting beliefs comes from our childhood. Who told you that you weren't good enough? Where along the line did you pick up that you weren't deserving, that you had to stay in this role? A lot of times it comes from maybe our ethnicities, our culture. Certain people don't do X. Certain people don't do Y. And so I'm here today to speak about that and let people know, first of all, that we all have limiting beliefs, whether you realize it or not. We all have them. And to start to begin to notice what they are. And there is a process that you can go through to start to changing them. But if you're not aware that you have them, then it's still going to be running your life. It's like that tape recorder that plays in your head over and over again. You can't do this. You can't do that. Oh, no one's ever done that. That's not for you. And so it's learning how to, first of all, be aware that the tape is playing, and then to stop the tape and start, that transition to make a new belief for what you really want in your life. Because yes, you can. There's nothing that you can't do. And we talked about dreaming and dreamscaping. There's absolutely nothing that you can't do once you set your mind to it. We both know it.
But when you talk about limiting beliefs, you start life off with small limiting beliefs, and then they just become bigger and bigger and bigger if you allow them to. And my favorite limiting belief, I've had it, and I know most of my clients have had it, is that I will never be thin. And I grew up overweight. A lot of people in my family are overweight, and it's always been okay. No one, being fat wasn't a negative. It was actually kind of a cute thing when I was growing up. But as I got older, I realized, well, what happened was, at 39, my father had a stroke. And he was paralyzed on one side, and he couldn't talk, and he couldn't remember anything. And it just scared the bejesus out of me. And I was like, wow, this is what can happen when you let yourself get overweight and you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, I had to start changing my limiting belief that I can't actually be in better shape. So I started, working out and exercising. It may not have been the perfect exercise program, but nonetheless, it got me started on that path to breaking through that limiting belief. And even as I progressed and even as I got fitter, I look at pictures now, back when I was 25, when I was 30, and at those moments, I never thought that I was thin. I always had a problem with, I couldn't possibly be thin. That's just not a possibility.
And at that point, had you lost already a lot of weight?
Oh yeah, by that time
I didn't feel thin.
By that time, I was in great shape.
Okay.
I look back at the pictures now and I'm thinking, what was I thinking?
Right.
But it was my belief system was so screwed up that I just never believed that I could be. And so as long as I believed that I could be thin, I never in my head was, no matter what my body looked like.
Yeah.
And so often your limiting beliefs are old. You don't need them anymore because you've already passed that point in your life.
They're no longer serving you.
Yeah. And I always say, be very, very careful about what comes out of your mouth. Because whatever comes out of your mouth, you've decided today that is your truth.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you've already limited the entire day.
Yes. Because what you believe acts as true. It's going to show up in your life. And like you had once talked about, if you get out of bed and you said, I'm going to have a bad day, guess what's going to show up in your life? All little instances that you're having a bad day.
Because that's what your focus is.
That's what your focus is.
Yeah.
That's what your belief is. And
Right.
so your subconscious doesn't, because your subconscious wants you to know that you're not crazy, it's going to make sure that it helps to play out the things that you're believing. So on the reverse, if you're believing, oh, this is going to be the best day, I'm going to have the best day of my life, guess what has to show up every time? I've done it over and over again in my life.
Okay, so in love, people have limiting beliefs.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'm too old to find love. You know, real love doesn't exist. You know, I am too fat, too skinny, you know, to find love. And that's one of the things that I do. I help, first of all, help clients figure out what their limiting beliefs are and bust through them. Start to help them begin to notice them, be aware of them, and start to change them. Because, you know, for instance, one of my clients will say, you know, well, I'm too overweight to find love. And one of the assignments I've given her is, I want you to go out and start taking a look everywhere you go of all the people who may be overweight, but they're holding hands with their partner and, you know, they're in romantic situations. Because the truth of the matter is, that's not true. You know, and until you get that in your head, until you believe that, you're still going to be operating under that belief. And so it's going to act as true in your life.
And also that limits you, yourself, from getting in better shape, because what you've done is you said, no one's going to accept me this way, but I accept me this way, so this is just the way that it is. And then you're no longer proactive in becoming or receiving or trying to receive that love that you say you so desperately want. I often believe that people say they, out of their mouth, they want love, but the truth is they haven't found love. And until you find love within yourself,
Exactly.
you're not going to find love outside in the world.
Exactly.
And when you walk through the world, one thing I know about myself, and you know, I get a lot of static for it, is I like myself.
Yes.
You know, I don't think I'm the best person that ever walked the earth. I know I have a lot to learn. I've been very, very blessed to have learned what I've learned thus far, but I feel good about it. I feel like I have been so blessed. And I was talking to someone last night on the phone, and I said, if I died tomorrow, the biggest reward would be to know that I have had the most magnificent life possible. I've seen the world, and I have lots of friends all over the world. And I love Facebook because when I was in Argentina in 1993, there was a baby in a carriage, and he just was attracting me. Every time I looked down at the baby just had these big, beautiful green eyes, and I would just look down at the little baby. And so finally, you know, the way I am, I reached down and picked up the baby, and for the rest of the weekend, I held this baby. And I got on Facebook, and about 6 minutes later, I mean, literally, I just signed up my account. The woman who had the little boy gets on and she wants to become my friend. And so we become friends, and she sends me a picture of her and her sons, and he's now 16, 17, 18 years old.
Grown up.
All grown up. And she said one of her fondest memories of me was how much, you know, how much time I spent with her child. And that he was an adult now, which just kind of blew me away. But it was so enlightening and rewarding that they actually remembered that day. And I think that I've had a lot of very special days. And I always say that if I brought one smile to one person's face, or if I help somebody else find who they are, or even help them start on the path to finding out who they are, then I've done a great service that day. And if I had to leave here, I would feel like I left a whole lot of examples of what was good, what was kind, what was honest, because I've only operated and functioned from those places.
Yes.
And I have always insisted that that is the mood, the energy, the vibe of the people that I want to be around. So when I find people that are energized and living in this really honest, I love life, I want to do this, I want to move kind of mode, boy, that sparks me right up.
Yeah, because it can't help but rub off on you.
Right. But it's much easier to find the people who say, oh, you know, this is this way. And, you know, they've already decided that's their truth. They've limited themselves. They've already decided that I can't go any further than here. And it was interesting you said about the job market, because so many of us have had to ebb and morph and change in the last 5 years. And I know I'm not the same business person today as I was 5 years ago. I've had to make a lot of concessions. I've had to make a lot of changes. I've also seen a lot of my friends in business who are in trouble or who are no longer there. And so I think that for them, you know, when I look at their businesses and their closing, it breaks my heart, because I know personally how that would make me feel. And but I know that the people that I knew or who had those businesses, they weren't people who were ready to give up. And so I know in my heart that I'll see you again. You know, you'll pick back up. Because this economy is going to pick back up. We're going to pick back up. We're going to pick ourselves back up. But in this time, it's a time when we have to become sometimes other things. You know, to look at other avenues. And some people are so limited in, I've only done accounting my whole life.
This is the only thing I can do.
This is the only thing that I can do. But you know, maybe you're really great at writing, or maybe you're really great on the computer, and maybe while you were doing your accounting, you were learning computer skills you didn't even know that you had. But you know, challenge yourself and say, this is what I've been, now what can I become? Because that's the only way you're going to get through it, just period.
And I like what you said, Carl. I love it when you say that you like yourself. You know, I think that's so important. You know, I often say to myself, I love myself as well. I like who I am. I wouldn't change any of the things that I've been through, any of the experiences that I've had, because I like who I am today. If I went back into the past and changed something, I wouldn't be who I am. And so I, you know, love me. I love who I am. And if you don't love you, how can you expect anyone else to love you? You know, Susie Orman once said that she has a crush on herself. And I just think that is so sweet, you know, because she's coming from a place of love for herself. And so I think our viewers should have crushes on themselves. I think we all should have a crush on themselves, on ourselves, because we really are that wonderful, that great. We're not perfect, but, you know, we're spectacular. And it's important to remember that, to love ourselves.
And if you were perfect today, where would you go? You know?
Exactly.
And then that's the end. I'm perfect today. Now it's over with, because I know I've done everything I needed to do.
Nothing left to do.
There's nothing left to do. And like I said, I would be, if I had to leave here tomorrow, I wouldn't be disappointed. There are still a lot of dreams that I have. You know, so it's not like I'm saying I want to leave tomorrow, but I'm just saying that the example that I was trying to give was that when you live each day to its fullest, honestly, truthfully, from your heart, from what your true beliefs are, you're going to grow and grow and grow, and your life is going to become more and more and more magnificent. But until you reach the point where you say, the very basic is being able to look in the mirror and say, I like myself the way that I am today, I know I can get better. You know, I like my life the way that it is today. I know it can get better.
And even if there are some things in your life that you don't like, you know, that you do want to change, that's okay. But focus on the things that you do like, you know, start being thankful and grateful for the things that you do have. Even if it's, you know, thank you that I'm able to get up this morning, get out of bed, and, you know, move my limbs. I mean, there's always something to be grateful for. And the more that you create that grateful feeling inside, the more that you're going to be able to attract, you know, other things to be grateful for. It starts from that place of love for yourself and love for what you have.
I always say make gratitude your attitude.
I love it.
And your whole day, your whole life is going to change. Because I live from a very gracious place. Every gift that I receive, every person that comes into my life who brings one more special thing to me. And not all of the love and not all of the honesty and not all of the trust that you put out in one area is going to come back from that area. But what's going to happen is that trust, love, honesty are infectious. And you attract people around you who are all of those things. And I've been so blessed. I always say that the people that I attract, I have learned so much. And even in the last 6 months, this has been such an amazing journey. Just I've learned so much. and I've learned about who I am. I've learned so much more about what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate, and that even speaks to in relationship, because
you've created those boundaries for yourself.
Right.
You know what's right for you.
Right. And I know that the goal is to improve and enhance each other.
Yeah.
And when I meet a person who is on that page, then I'll be good with that. But to try to improve or enhance someone because they think that you can, they think that they want you to, or you see someone. One of my favorite jokes is two women are riding around and they see a guy and he's laying on the street and he can't walk. And they had just been out to a bar and the woman, both of them couldn't meet anyone. So the woman told her to pull around and grab him and pick him up and put him in the car. And her friend said, well, you know, you don't even know who this guy, what if he can't walk? And she said, even better, he won't be able to get away.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
But her thought was, I'll pick him up and I'll improve him, and even if he can't walk, he'll be all right. You know, but you cannot improve anyone, one, without improving yourself.
Yeah.
And unless they really want to improve it, unless they're really ready to go to that place of honesty and trust and love and just living the day to live in that place of gratitude. So I think that when we learn gratitude and we learn trust, honesty just comes with it. It's just part of the recipe.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I just want to share with our viewers some way that they can, you know, change some of those limiting beliefs that they may be facing today. The first step is to become aware of it, to notice what the limiting belief is that's playing over and over again in your head. And the second step would be to create a new belief. You know, you find that that old limiting belief is no longer serving you. It's not, you know, working in your life right now. So what's the new belief? What do you want to believe? Is it, you know, I can find love easily and effortlessly, or, you know, I can be in the best shape of my life? What is it that you really want? And then, you know, we both know this. Say your new belief, start practicing it, saying it, making it your truth for 21 days straight. Because we know with that magic number, 21, it takes 21 days to change a habit. So get into that habit of stating your new belief over and over again.
21 steps to magnificent living.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stop there. Jennifer and I are going to come back and we're going to work out with you for a little bit. And then we'll finish. So don't go anywhere. Get your exercise gear on and let's get ready to work out.
God gives some more than others because some accept more than others. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Ernest Holmes.
Welcome back to Magnificent Living today. Jennifer and I are here just to exercise with you a little bit. But first we're just going to start with just a little simple breathing. Pilates breath happens in through your nose and opening your mouth. A percussive breath as you exhale. We're going to connect the mind and body. Palms face upward. We're going to lengthen the spine. Make sure you're on your sit bones and then carefully stack each vertebrae of your spine one on top of the next. And you can just shield your eyes. I'm going to do that. And we're just going to take a few long, deep breaths. Just getting into our breathing and finding our center. Long, deep breaths. Allow your shoulder blades to melt away from your ears so you have tension-free shoulders, yet your spine is still long and lit. Check your facial muscles and make sure you're not storing or retaining any tension in your face or your jawline. Breathe. Just get into center. Let's move our fingers and our toes. And soft eyes will open. Okay, we're going to begin. So we're going to roll down onto our mat. Feet down, hands along your side, tilt your chin forward. And again, just bring your focus back to your breathing. Long, deep breaths. Allow the muscles of your upper back just to melt into the mat, so your upper back and shoulders are tension-free. Breathe. Starting with a single leg stretch, we're going to extend the right leg all the way up. Pointing the toe, we're going to stretch forward as we inhale. And as you exhale, flex your heel, create some resistance as you pull back. Dynamic tension. And again, inhale as you stretch. Exhale, flex and pull back. Use the breath. We're going 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale as you flex and pull. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale, flex and pull. We're going to lace the hands behind the hamstring muscle and stretch your right leg back. Take some long, deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, lift up your head, and then just stretch your nose towards your thigh, stretching the back of your neck. Long, deep breaths. The left leg is going to slide all the way forward, stretching through. So now we're stretching in opposition. We're stretching the neck, the back of the leg or the hamstring, hip flexors, and your quadriceps. We have a lot of stretching going on here. Utilize your breathing. You always want to work towards the edge of your stretch, meaning you always want to grow within the stretch. Breathe. Our positions are never static, always moving. Upper body is going to peel its way down. Right foot is going to point and flex. And then flex and hold, rock your heels side to side. Circumduction, create a circle. And then reverse the circle in direction. Long, deep breaths. Just give her a little shake out. Soften your knee. Left hand across, right hand on the floor. And you're going to cross your center line, keeping both shoulder blades planted on your mat. Notice your breath work. Long, deep breaths. Breathe. Stretch, always active, always at work. Breathe. And then easy, slowly, we're going to roll the spine back onto the mat. And step down. Left leg immediately comes straight up. Hands along your side, single leg stretch. Inhale as you stretch forward. Remember your dynamic tension as you pull back. And again, inhale as you stretch. Create your dynamic tension and pull back. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale as you stretch. Exhale as you flex and pull. 1 more time. Inhale as you stretch. Exhale as you flex and pull. Lace the hands behind your thigh and stretch back. Remember to breathe. Easy, lifting your head, stretch your nose towards your thigh. And then the right leg is going to come all the way forward, reach through your heel, and just stretch. Long, deep breaths. You want to stay active, so you're always stretching, always growing, always in action. Long, deep breaths. 2 more breaths here. Work towards your edge. And then easy, slowly, the upper body is going to peel its way down. Left foot's going to point and flex. And then flex and hold, rock your heels side to side, inversion and eversion. Create your circle. And then reverse that circle in direction. And then give your foot a little shake. Soften your knee. Hand across your thigh, hand on the floor. And let's cross our center line, being very careful to keep your shoulder blades on the mat. Oh, that feels good. Mm-hmm. So this is really stretching the muscles behind the back of your hip. And all those muscles are attached to your low back. So these are great stretches for your low back and the back side of your hips. Long, deep breaths. So we've already warmed up several muscle groups already, including your transverse abdominis, which is also your largest breathing muscle. And then very slowly, let's roll our spine back onto the mat. Left foot down, right foot comes back. Heels directly under your knees. Hands along your side, tilt your chin forward for the bridge. To warm up your spinal column, we're going to lift the hips up, stretch up. And then as you exhale, we're just going to articulate down from the upper back to the vertebrae of the middle back, to the vertebrae of the low back, and then relaxing on the mat. And let's do that again. Inhale as you lift up, stretch up, breathe. And then starting with the cervical spine, upper back, coming down. Thoracic spine, middle back, lumbar spine, and the very tip of your sacrum relax on the floor. 2 more times with your breath. Inhale as you lift up, stretch up. And then exhale as you peel your way down vertebrae by vertebrae. Utilize your breath. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lift up, stretch up. And then as you exhale, easy, vertebrae by vertebrae, begin to peel yourself all the way down. And relax on the mat. Warming up the legs with a double leg stretch. Both feet are going to come up and together. Notice the natural curve in your low back on the mat. That's your neutral spine. We want to remain in neutral as we stretch our feet forward and inhale. Exhale, bring the knees back directly over your hips. And again, inhale as you stretch, and exhale as you pull back. Let's do 6 more. Inhale, stretch, and exhale, pull. Breathe for 5. And pull. Breathe for 4. And pull. Breathe for 3. And pull. 2 more breaths. And pull. And just 1 more. And then we're just going to step down 1 foot at a time. And just take a few breaths. Breathe. Both hands are going to come behind the base of your head. Fingertips support your skull. Elbows point up to the ceiling. We're going to inhale on the floor. As we exhale, we're going to begin to curl up your ear wheel, your head wheel, your neck wheel, your shoulder wheel. Stretch your elbows towards your knees. Pause. Inhale. And then as you exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, peel yourself all the way down. And again, we're going to inhale on the floor. Exhale as you curl up. Wheel by wheel, stretching, breathing. Inhale. And then exhale, peel your way down. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale as you curl your way up. The right leg is going to extend all the way up. Hands are going to come behind your calf muscle. Breathe. The left leg is going to extend all the way forward for scissors. We're going to inhale. And as you exhale, the right foot pushes down, the left leg stretches back. 10. And breathe. 9. And breathe. 8. Breathe. And 7. Keep that head lifted. Breathe. 6. And breathe. 5. Breathe for 4. Stretch. Breathe for 3. Stretch. Breathe for 2. Stretch. 1 more breath. Stretch, knees in, relax the upper body down. Hands behind your thighs. Just make a little circle with your low back on the floor. Direction is not important. Breathing is. Where's your breath? And then we're just going to pause and reverse our circle in direction. Breathe. Knees into you. We're going to lift up our head. We're going to inhale. And as exhale, we're just going to rock ourselves up. Wrap our arms around our legs. And just relax your head weight all the way forward. Stretching the back side of your neck. And just let your neck stretch. Breathe. Two more breaths. And then easy lifting your head. Next exercise will be angel's arms. Hands are going to reach forward. You're going to inhale and stretch your hands up. Turn your palms to the outer walls, and then you're going to come in and just squeeze together. We're going to fight. Back. I don't want to fight with you today. Inhale when you stretch up. Turn the palms to the outer walls, and exhale, just press it. Let's curl our tailbone under and come back just a little bit. Inhale. Stabilize the rest of your body. Angel's arms, press in. 4. Breathe for 3. And press. Breathe for 2. And press. Just one. Hands are going to come down to the mat. Inhale. As you exhale, you're going to pick up both feet. Sorry, Jennifer. I didn't prepare you for that one, did I? 2 more breaths. Breathe. You're starting to glisten. And then we're going to roll up.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing. My mother's mad at me for making her sweat. She said, no, sweating is essential to living. If your sweat glands aren't working, you've got a problem. So we need to sweat.
It just goes to show what a great workout Pilates is.
Yeah. And it looks so much easier than it is.
Exactly.
Try this with us. 2 more breaths. And then easy, we're going to lift our head weight up, hands behind the thighs, lift up your chest nice and tall. Inhale. As you exhale, we're going to curl our tailbone under and come back. Breathe. Hands down on the floor, we're going to inhale. Exhale, we're going to pick up the feet. Get ready. Right leg is going to extend forward. Inhale. Exhale, and we're going to switch for 10. Breathe for 9. Breathe for 8. Hold on. 7. And 6. Breathe for 5. And stretch. Breathe for 4. Stretch. Breathe 3. Stretch. 2 more. Stretch. 1 more. Stretch. Come in. And relax over and breathe. I think it must be the lights because I'm sweating too. Yeah. And I never sweat. Breathe. Two more breaths. And then easy lift the head. We'll do 1 more. We're just going to take the heels out to the corners of your mat for twisting. And you're going to cross your hands at the elbows. You're on your sit bones, your heels are flexed. We want to stabilize the lower body. We're going to twist to the right as we inhale. And then as we exhale, we're going to pull to the center. Left side, inhale. Exhale, pull to the center. Breathe for 6. And pull. Breathe for 5. And pull. Breathe for 4. And breathe for 3. Breathe for 2. And just 1 more breath. Let's relax the hands. Just place them on the legs between your feet and then stretch forward. So if you can find a place to hold on behind your legs or around your feet, and then think about pulling your chest forward opposed to bringing your chest just downward. You want to keep the chin lifted and stretch out. So you always want the head to be in line with the rest of the spinal column. Breathe. Go in and just allow those hamstring muscles to let go. Breathe into long, deep breaths. 2 more breaths. And then just relax your hands. We're going to inhale. Relax your head weight. And then as you exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, roll all the way up. So Jennifer, we're going to pull from the wisdom cards. I have my wisdom cards, and they're by Louise Hay. They're easy to find in any bookstore or online. Louise Hay wisdom cards. And whenever I need a suggestion for my life, what I do is I just open it up and I pick a card. I'll pick one. Okay, Jennifer.
And I feel like when we pick cards, we always get the perfect one that applies to our life right then and there.
Yeah, because God has his hand in there. He's like, here, take this one, take this one. All right, you go first.
There is a solution to every problem.
Then turn it over.
We create habits and problems to fulfill a need. When I can find a positive way to fulfill the need, I can release the problem. So therefore, there's a solution to every problem.
Right.
Wow.
And I say there are no problems, there are only equations.
I love that.
You're presented with an equation, and the equation is Either it's going to go this way or it's going to go that way, and then you get choices in there. Mine says, and this is perfect for today, I allow others to be themselves. I do not try to heal my friends. I do my own mental work and heal myself. This is the best thing I can do and I can offer to others. So, I honestly believe that when I heal myself, when I can say to myself that I'm feeling good, then I can honestly share that with you.
Yeah, it's not about trying to change our friends or change other people, accepting them where they're at and, loving them anyway.
And allowing them to heal mind, body, body, and spirit. Jennifer, thanks for being here today.
Thank you,
like
Carl.
always. Thank you for being here also, and we'll see you next week.